Imagine you're sitting in a room, waiting for an experiment to start. The instructions are simple. You're going to be a teacher, and your job is to administer a shock to someone every time they answer a question wrong. The voltage will increase with each mistake. As you flip the switches, you hear screams from the next room, but the experimenter tells you to keep going. Would you? How far would you go before your conscience overruled your obedience to authority? This is just one of many unsettling questions psychology has sought to answer through experiments over the years. Some of these studies have unlocked incredible insights into human behavior, while others have sparked ethical debates that resonate to this day. Welcome to the fascinating and at times disturbing world of psychology experiments, where the pursuit of knowledge reveals the complexity and often the darkness of the human mind. 1. The shock of obedience. Milgram Experiment, 1961. In the early 1960s, Yale University psychologist Stanley Milgram set out to answer a chilling question. Could average people commit atrocities simply by following orders? This was in the wake of World War II, with trials of Nazi officers revealing a defense built on the claim, "I was just following orders." Milgram wanted to test the limits of human obedience. In his experiment, participants believed they were taking part in a study on learning and punishment. They were assigned the role of teacher and instructed to deliver electric shocks to a learner, an actor, every time they gave an incorrect answer to a memory test. As the shocks increased in intensity, from mild jolts to dangerous levels, the learner would scream, beg for mercy, and even claim to have heart problems. What shocked the world wasn't the learner's distress, but the teacher's willingness to comply. Despite obvious signs of pain, placenta participants continued to the maximum voltage level simply because an authority figure, Milgram in a lab coat, insisted they do so. Milgram's findings were as sobering as they were controversial. His study demonstrated that ordinary people could commit unthinkable acts when directed by an authority figure. While the experiment is often criticized for its ethical breaches, it forever changed how we understand authority and moral judgment. 2. Into the darkness of the human psyche. The Stanford Prison Experiment, 1971. From obedience to authority, we move to the exploration of power and role-playing in the Stanford Prison Experiment. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo transformed the basement of Stanford University's psychology department into a mock prison to explore how people react when placed in positions of power and submission. Participants were randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners in this 2-week study. What followed was an astonishing transformation of behavior. Guards quickly adopted authoritarian roles, imposing harsh, degrading punishments on prisoners. The prisoners, on the other hand, became submissive, anxious, and even traumatized. The experiment spiraled out of control so quickly that Zimbardo had to call it off after just 6 days. The guards had become sadistic, and the prisoners exhibited severe emotional distress. This chilling experiment showcased the dangerous potential of power dynamics and the ease with which people can dehumanize others when placed in certain roles. The Stanford Prison Experiment remains one of the most famous studies in psychology, but it also stands as a symbol of what can go wrong in research when ethical guidelines are not properly followed. It continues to raise important questions about authority, conformity, and the capacity for cruelty. 3. Exploring cognitive dissonance. The Festinger and Carlsmith Experiment, 1959. In 1959, psychologists Leon Festinger and James Carlsmith conducted a study that would become a cornerstone in understanding how we rationalize uncomfortable or conflicting beliefs, a concept known as cognitive dissonance. Participants were asked to complete a series of boring, tedious tasks, like turning pegs on a board. Afterward, they were asked to lie to the next participant, telling them the task was enjoyable. The participants were paid either £1 or $20 for their efforts. Surprisingly, those paid only $1 reported enjoying the task more than those who were paid $20. But why? Festinger argued that those who received $1 experienced higher cognitive dissonance. They couldn't justify lying for such a small amount, so they convinced themselves that the task wasn't actually that bad. On the other hand, those paid $20 could easily justify their lie. They were being well compensated for it. The study revealed just how much mental discomfort we'll tolerate to maintain consistency in our beliefs and actions. This experiment gave us insight into how we cope with dissonant thoughts and experiences, something we all do in daily life. Whether it's staying in a job we dislike or defending choices we regret, cognitive dissonance plays a central role in how we navigate our beliefs and action. Learning from a dog. Pavlov's classical conditioning, 1890s. In a series of experiments that laid the foundation for behaviorism, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov stumbled upon a discovery that would forever change psychology: classical conditioning. While studying digestion in dogs, Pavlov noticed that his subjects would begin to salivate not only at the sight of food, but at the sound of footsteps of the person delivering it. This observation led Pavlov to explore how unrelated stimuli could trigger a response if paired with a natural stimulus repeatedly. In his famous experiment, Pavlov rang a bell before giving the dogs food. After several repetitions, the dogs began to salivate upon hearing the bell alone. Pavlov had demonstrated that behaviors could be learned through association, a principle now known as classical conditioning. This seemingly simple discovery had profound implications for understanding how humans and animals learn. From phobias to advertising, Pavlov's work laid the groundwork for much of modern psychology, particularly in the realms of learning and behavior modification. 5. The power of social influence. Asch Conformity Experiment, 1951. How strong is the influence of the majority on an individual's decisions? Solomon Asch sought to answer this question in his famous conformity experiments of the 1950s. Asch placed participants in a group setting where they were asked to match the length of a line on a card to one of 3 comparison lines. The task was simple, until the rest of the group, who were actors, began unanimously choosing the wrong line. Faced with the pressure to conform, many participants gave incorrect answers, despite the obvious truth staring them in the face. Asch found that 75% of participants conformed to the group at least once, even when they knew the group was wrong. This experiment demonstrated the power of social pressure and how it can shape our decisions, even when we know better. The findings have far-reaching implications, especially in understanding peer pressure, groupthink, and the ways in which societal norms influence our behavior. 6. The mystery of human attachment. Harlow's monkey experiments, 1958. In the 1950s, psychologist Harry Harlow conducted a series of controversial experiments on monkeys that would reshape our understanding of love, attachment, and the importance of emotional care. Harlow separated baby rhesus monkeys from their mothers and placed them in cages with 2 artificial mothers. One was made of wire and provided food, while the other was soft, covered in cloth, but offered no nourishment. The baby monkeys consistently chose the soft mother, clinging to it for comfort, even though the wire mother provided the essential sustenance. This experiment demonstrated that emotional comfort and security were more important to developing monkeys than food alone. The findings provided valuable insights into human attachment and child development, suggesting that the bond between a mother and child is rooted in more than just physical needs. It is also deeply emotional. Harlow's work, though groundbreaking, was criticized for its cruelty, as the monkeys often exhibited signs of severe emotional distress. Despite this, the experiments paved the way for further studies on attachment and the emotional needs of children, influencing fields from psychology to pediatrics. 7. The danger of labels. The Rosenhan Experiment, 1973. In the early 1970s, psychologist David Rosenhan conducted a study that would shake the foundations of psychiatry. His experiment questioned whether mental health professionals could reliably distinguish between sanity and insanity. Rosenhan and 7 other pseudo-patients faked auditory hallucinations to gain admission to psychiatric hospitals. Once inside, they acted normally and reported no further symptoms. Despite this, all the pseudo-patients were diagnosed with psychiatric disorders and held for an average of 19 days. The staff in the hospitals continued to perceive them as mentally ill, interpreting normal behaviors as symptoms of their supposed conditions. The study revealed the power of labels and the subjective nature of psychiatric diagnoses. It challenged the reliability of mental health assessments and fueled the growing movement toward mental health reform. These groundbreaking experiments have not only shaped the field of psychology, but have also had a profound impact on how we view ourselves and others. Whether it's understanding the dark side of obedience or the complexities of human attachment, these studies have opened doors to knowledge that continues to influence how we think, feel, and act. While some of these experiments have drawn heavy ethical criticism, they remain pivotal in the journey to understand the human mind. That's it for today, guys. If you like the video, subscribe and like the video. See you soon.